A brilliant medical deception, a desperate son's tears, and a wooden chair smashing into the skull of a Faison. The Windermere dungeon just hosted the most epic escape attempt of the year, and we are breaking down every jaw-dropping second. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a fantastic day to dive deep into the twisted minds of Port Charles. Let's get right into the madness. Okay, so I've been thinking about this Windermere dungeon scene, and my brain is just doing backflips. Like, the sheer audacity of Liesl Obrecht is something we really need to talk about. I mean, we always knew she was a survivor, but faking a massive cardiac event to trick her own secret twin son. That is peak daytime drama, but also weirdly brilliant. Actually, no. First, I should mention how we even got to this point, because the context is kind of crucial. Wait, let me back up. Ross Cullum basically chloroformed her in her car and dragged her to Spoon Island, because Jen Sidwell needs her to finish Cesar Faison's cold fusion prototype, which is just... wow. The Faison legacy literally never dies. It just mutates into new terrible projects. So Liesl wakes up in this damp, dark sub-basement cell, and she's suddenly face to face with a guy who has been walking around wearing her dead son's face. And before the whole heart attack thing, we had that massive confession. Cassius finally had to look his mother in the eye and tell her the truth. I think it was episode 12, or 13, somewhere around there when he finally cracked. He admitted he isn't Nathan West, he's the twin. And you can just imagine the psychological whiplash Liesl experienced in that exact second. She spent all this time thinking her beloved Nathan was miraculously alive, only to find out it's a stranger who shares his DNA and was hidden away by Cesar Faison. But then again, that doesn't explain why Cassius thought she would just accept him. Like, he really thought he could just say, "Hey, I'm your other son," and they'd hug. It's weird, like really weird. The whole thing is just weird. Cassius is this hardened guy working with international criminals like Sidwell and Cullum, but deep down, he just has this desperate, pathetic need for a mommy. He wants Liesl to love him. And Liesl, being the absolute tactical genius that she is, sees that vulnerability immediately. She doesn't just cry and mourn Nathan. I mean, not exactly, but kind of. She probably did feel a genuine wave of intense, suffocating grief, but then she weaponized it. She weaponized her own trauma. She clutched her chest, started gasping, and basically performed the most realistic severe heart attack in medical history. And because she's a world-class doctor, she knows exactly what a cardiac event looks like. The diaphoresis, the shallow breathing, the specific way the body seizes up and then goes completely limp. She probably even manipulated her own pulse rate through sheer willpower, or maybe she just held her breath until she turned blue. I don't know. Probably doesn't matter, but I noticed the lighting in that cell is so dim. Cassius couldn't get a good look at her skin tone anyway. But he bought it. He completely bought it. Okay, I know I just said the opposite, but hear me out. What if Cassius knew it was a trick, but his subconscious just wouldn't let him ignore it? Like, he just found his mother. He just confessed his identity. The thought of her dying right in front of him, dying before they could even have a real conversation, was just too much for his fragile psyche. So he panics. He completely loses all his tactical training. He doesn't call Pascal down from the upstairs kitchen. He doesn't radio Sidwell. He just grabs the keys and unlocks the cell door, rushing in with literal tears streaming down his face. The tears are what really get me. He is crying. This villain who has been holding Jocelyn hostage, working with murderers, is sobbing over the mother he barely knows. It shows this massive dichotomy in his character. He's ruthless, but he's also just a broken little boy created by Cesar Faison's madness. What was I saying? Oh, right, so he rushes into the cell and drops to his knees next to Liesl's lifeless body. And this is where the choreography of the scene just becomes absolute perfection. While Cassius is entirely focused on Liesl weeping over her, he completely forgets about the other person in the room. Jocelyn Jax. Jocelyn, who has been locked in this damp, miserable sub-basement since October 2025. She's been surviving on pure spite and whatever stale bread Pascal throws at her. She's been planning her escape for months. Wait, actually, let's talk about Jocelyn's weapons for a second. We know she had those makeshift shivs that Anna Devane left behind. So why didn't she use them? Why didn't she stab Cassius? Maybe she realized that stabbing a guy of his size might not incapacitate him instantly. If she missed a major artery, he could just turn around and overpower her. Or maybe she just didn't want to cross the line into lethal force if she didn't have to. So instead she goes for blunt force trauma. She grabs the heavy wooden chair from the corner of the cell. The kinetic energy of this moment is just insane to think about. Jocelyn is channeling every ounce of her frustration, her fear, her anger at being kidnapped, her hatred for Pascal's taunting, and she just swings for the fences. She brings that wooden chair crashing down on the back of Cassius's neck and head. The sound of the wood splintering against his skull must have been sickening, But it was effective. Cassius drops like a stone. He is out cold, completely unconscious on the freezing stone floor. It happened so fast I literally had to rewind it twice just to process the physics of the swing. And then this is the best part, Liesl just pops up. No gasping, no lingering weakness. She just sits up, perfectly fine, and looks down at the unconscious man who shares her dead son's face. Her expression is just pure ice. She looks at him and basically says that nobody can fool her, especially not someone with Faison blood running through their veins. It's such a cold, calculating line. It completely strips Cassius of any power he thought he had. Anyway, the point is... Wait, what was the point? Oh, the psychological damage. When Cassius eventually wakes up with a massive concussion, obviously he's going to remember that his mother faked her own death just to get away from him. That is going to destroy whatever is left of his sanity. He wanted a family reunion, and instead he got a masterclass in manipulation and a chair to the brain. But let's look at the logistics of what happens next. Liesl and Jocelyn are now standing over an unconscious guard. They have the cell keys. They have whatever weapons Cassius had on him, probably a sidearm, maybe a knife, definitely a radio. They are officially out of the cage, but they are still in the sub-basement of Windermere. And Windermere is currently a fortress run by Jen Sidwell, who is absolutely ruthless. If they go upstairs, they have to navigate the secret passages. Lucas Jones is apparently setting some kind of trap for Sidwell right now, and Carly is supposedly poking around the island looking for Jocelyn after finding her dropped ring. It's like a massive collision course of storylines. What if Jocelyn and Liesl run into Carly? Or what if they run into Pascal? Pascal has been taunting Jocelyn for days. If Jocelyn has a gun now, Pascal might be in for a very bad time. Actually, no, wait. Pascal took a deal from Sonny and left town right... Or is he still there? I can't even keep the timeline straight in my head right now. The dynamic between Liesl and Jocelyn is also fascinating to analyze. They are such an unlikely duo. You have Carly's daughter, this young woman who has grown up adjacent to mob violence but is still fundamentally a civilian, and then you have Liesl Obrecht, a former supervillain, brilliant doctor, and grieving mother who has done unspeakable things. They are bonded by trauma now. Liesl could have just tried to escape on her own, but they worked together. It was a coordinated strike. I keep second-guessing myself about Cassius, though. Did he really buy the heart attack, or did he know it was a risk, but his emotions overrode his logic? Cesar Faison was obsessed, but he was never this emotionally fragile. Peter August was a mess, but he hid it behind arrogance. Cassius seems uniquely vulnerable when it comes to Liesl. It's almost tragic in a very twisted, soap opera kind of way. He was basically a blank slate manipulated by Cesar's posthumous plans, and he just wanted the one thing he was denied: a mother. But honestly, Liesl's reaction makes total sense. She has been through too much. She lost Britt. She lost Nathan. To have this guy parade around in Nathan's face, using his memory to manipulate her, she owes him nothing. The fact that she used her masterful medical skills to fake the exact symptoms of a fatal cardiac event is just the chef's kiss. It is the most Obrecht thing she could possibly do. So now they are armed, they have the keys, and they are heading into the dark corridors of the castle. I can't even imagine what Sidwell is going to do when he finds out his primary hostage and his newly acquired scientific genius have broken out. Ross Cullum is already dealing with the whole Rocco and Britt situation, and now this. The villains are losing control of the narrative, and it's mostly because they underestimated the women they locked in the basement. It's just, I don't know. The whole sequence is brilliant, but I'm still trying to figure out how it fits into the broader picture. With Jason supposedly coming back and Anna Devane returning to the canvas soon, maybe they all converge on Windermere. I guess we'll see. My brain is just spinning with theories. I mean, think about the fallout if Cassius survives this and just completely snaps. He already lost Lulu. He lost his identity, and now his mother basically told him he's nothing but a face-on to her. That kind of rejection breeds monsters. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he'll have some kind of redemption arc. But how do you redeem someone who helped keep a young girl locked in a dungeon for months? You really can't. And Jocelyn swinging that chair just felt like years of pent-up aggression finally finding a target. Okay, I need to stop rambling and actually process this. But seriously, that chair smash iconic. Just iconic. The way Liesl just stood up afterward, completely unbothered, brushing the dirt off her clothes while Cassius bled on the floor. It's the kind of television that keeps me up at night, overthinking every single frame. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, right, the escape. They have the keys now. The real game is just beginning.